back, everybody, from your breakout rooms. We hope you've gained more insight and new ideas. Our last educational forum this evening will be presented by Steve Seimens, certified speaking professional. He's become known as the people builder to audiences all over the world. Steve Seimens, CSP, has delighted hundreds of audiences in over 20 countries and in every state in the United States. People love hearing his message filled with useful skills and tools wrapped in humor because they find nuggets that can be used in every area of their lives, both professional and personal. Steve has been labeled as one of the best professional speakers, and you will understand why after you've heard his presentation. He's the author of 3 books. His 4th book will be released in late 2024, entitled Don't Die Until You're Dead. He's a past colleague president and the past 2005-2006 international president of Kiwanis International. His leadership of many boards includes chairmanships of the Iowa Easter Seals and the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Steve has been awarded the CSP, which I mentioned as Certified Speaking Professional, from the National Speakers Association. Only 10% of the speakers worldwide have passed the rigorous criteria to attain the CSP. You'll enjoy his interactive, humorous, and motivational style. You'll benefit from his common sense, practical ideas, and relevant message, whether you hear him for the first time, for the 100th time. The message always has a new twist, and you'll leave a better person because of the people builder's gift of words. Steve, you're on.
Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Delighted to be a part of this, and so thank you for the opportunity. Hopefully you have the handout in front of you so that as we go through this presentation, you can add some words to it, which will make our time together more profitable and beneficial. But there are some times in life that you just need to laugh. Question, if you could live forever, would you, and why? The answer is I would not live forever, because we should not live forever, because if we were supposed to live forever, then we would live forever, but we cannot live forever. That is why I would not live forever. And Miss Alabama won in 1994 Miss USA contest. Smoking kills. If you're killed, you've lost a very important part of your life. There are some times you and I just need to laugh. I've never had major knee surgery on any other part of my body. Outside the killings, Washington has one of the lowest crime rates in the country. Half of this game is 90% mental. It isn't the pollution that's harming the environment, it's the impurities in our air and water that are doing it. I love California. I practically grew up in Phoenix. That low-down scoundrel deserves to be kicked to death by a jackass, and I'm just the one to do it. Your food stamps will be stopped effectively March 1992 because we received notice that you passed away. May God bless you. You may reapply if there's any change in your circumstance. The word genius isn't applicable in football. A genius is a guy like Norman Einstein. Hopefully today what I'm going to share with you will kind of make you laugh when it's supposed to be funny, but will remind us all of where we are and the opportunity that we have to mentor leaders and to grow this organization. And so I want to suggest that you are at the right place at the right time, just like these perfectly timed photos. You and I have the opportunity to be a part of something that's bigger than ourselves, and being at the right place at the right time is just one of those things that makes such a difference in our lives and such a difference in what we can do and how we can accomplish what we can do. And so what I want to share with us today are some ideas and some thoughts about moving people up the leadership ladder. An organization will never rise above its leadership. And it is so important that you and I do whatever we can to absolutely create opportunities for people to lead. So the question is, what is leadership? Einstein said, if I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on it, I would use the first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask. The guy was pretty smart and has some good things for us to consider. So the question that I want to ask is, how can we attract the leaders that we need? And yet I want to make some observations about leadership before we talk about that. Leading is harder than being a leader. Many aspire to be a leader only to find out that doing leadership is challenging. And if you and I, as leaders, don't understand that, we're probably not going to succeed. It's hard. It's harder than just being the leader. And it's important that you and I are reminded of that. If you don't have a compelling reason to lead, you're not going to last as a leader. And it is so important that you and I have a compelling reason to lead. If it benefits only you, it's ambition, not leadership. Focus is important, but shared focus is critical. And it's important that you and I share the focus and the opportunity on what it's going to take for us to do what needs to be done in our Kiwanis clubs, in our divisions, in our districts, and at international. If you use your title to get things done, you're really not leading. You must be tough on results, but soft on people. And my friends, there will always be critics. If you can't learn from them, ignore them. And determine what matters and measure it consistently. And so if we're going to go up the leadership ladder, what are some elements of greatness for leadership? What are some things that you and I should think about and some things that we should be in tune with? The great elevator seed is leadership. Everything rises and falls on the leader. Now, if I was there in person, I would ask this question: how many of you can name somebody you don't know? And it's always interesting to me because there'll be a couple hands that will go up and then they go down, quite frankly, very quickly, because you can't name somebody you don't know. You can name somebody you haven't met. As a leader, you can't take people where you haven't been. And you and I need to be a couple steps ahead of people. Leaders that are 10 steps ahead of people are martyrs. Leaders that are a couple steps ahead of people are going to provide the leadership that is needed. The great elevator seed is leadership. The great motivator seed is vision. One person with a vision can do amazing things. And when there's no vision, you and I are not going to succeed. The great separator seed is action. We can have all kinds of leadership things in place. We can have great vision, but if there's not action, if there's not something that we're going to do to make it happen, nothing's going to be accomplished. The great generator seed is passion. One person with passion is worth more than 99 who have an interest. And I will take one person with passion over 99 that show up. And one of the greatest gifts that you and I could give to Kiwanis today is to have passion for our mission, have passion for our vision, have passion for our clubs, for our divisions, for our district, and do whatever we can to help make that happen, whatever that is, make it happen. But we'll never do it effectively without passion. The great navigator seed is strategy. What is the strategy? The great compensator seed is attitude. Attitude is almost everything. When you wake up in the morning with a good attitude, you have a better day. Yes or yes? When you do whatever you do for Kiwanis with a better attitude, it works better. Yes or yes? Don't make this hard. It's important that you and I do whatever we can to understand that the greatest gift that we can give in our leadership, one of those characteristics is called attitude. I want every person in this Zoom call to have the attitude of my mother-in-law's dog. My mother-in-law has a little dachshund dog that every time the doorbell rings, the dog goes nuts. Jumps up and down, bark, 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 comes to the door. The doorbell could ring 87 times a day, and the dog would go nuts 87 times a day. Doorbell rings, dog jumps up and down, bark, 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 runs to the door. You know what I've discovered in the last 14 years? The door's never been for him once. That is a positive attitude. And it's important that you and I demonstrate a positive attitude if we're going to attract people to join and if we're going to attract leaders. The great radiator seed is momentum. And one of the things that we always need to be working on is creating that momentum. And the great emancipator seed is empowerment. What are we going to do to give people the ability to lead? How are we going to empower them so that they can? And my friends, it's important that you and I understand that I believe one of the greatest needs in Kiwanis right now is leadership. It's leaders that will rise to the occasion to do what needs to be done. And if we don't empower our leaders to lead, we're going to not succeed in the way that we have the potential to succeed. So how do we develop the leaders that we need? Good question. Let me give you some things for you to noodle on and some things to think about. There's 5 basic skills to develop. And if you and I are going to be effective leaders, here are 5 things that I want you to consider and 5 things that I think are really important in what we do and in how we do it. Number 1 is relationship skills. People will not go along with you unless they can get along with you. And providing and doing whatever we can to build those relationships is so important. Number 2 is coaching. Bringing out the best in others brings out the best in you. And one of the things that we need to do more than ever before is coach. If there's some people that have opportunities to become leaders, you and I need to be on the sideline coaching and encouraging them. Number 3 is communication skills. The ability to connect with others brings a great return. What holds a club together is not an organizational chart. It's not a chain of command. It's talking to each other. Communication, that's a skill that you and I need to work on and always improve. Problem-solving skills, the world is owned by people who solve problems. And you and I understand that part of leadership is solving problems. And when we work on that and solve them, everybody benefits. And number 5 is leadership skills. And as I've shared before, everything rises and falls on the leadership. Those are 5 skills that you and I need to continue to develop, improve, and work on. And if you have potential leaders in your club or in your district, I want to encourage you to encourage them to be working on these 5 skills as well. There's also 5 words that you and I need to develop. Words that make such a difference in our leadership. And I'm going to repeat the first word because you and I need to develop attitude. Again, our attitude towards our clubs is going to determine the success. If I'm going to a board meeting and my attitude is, oh, great, I got to go to another board meeting, guess what kind of a board meeting you're going to have? Exactly what you planned for. If I get up in the morning and I'm going to my club and, oh, guess what? I have to go to Kiwanis again. If that's the attitude, you and I are never going to build the momentum or build the kind of camaraderie that your club and my club wants to have as we develop attitudes. Number 2 is relationships. Again, I'm going to repeat this, but without this, others will hurt you. It's so important that you and I, in developing leaders and in leading, develop relationships. Number 3 is priorities. Without this, problems will defeat you. So what is our persistence? Sorry, I got ahead of myself. Persistence. Without this, problems will defeat you. It's so important that you and I stay persistent. Number 4, develop priorities. Without this, the insignificant will hamper you. Kiwanis is a service club. Our priorities are serving people. And so when we have an opportunity to serve, we ought to have more people signed up than what we need. We ought to have more people volunteering. And here's the word that I'm using now. Instead of volunteer, I'm using the word contributor. We ought to have more people contributing to that service project than ever before. And I want to encourage you to consider Instead of saying volunteer, contribute. I need some people to contribute to this service project. I need some people to contribute to our Key Club. I need people to contribute to our Builders Club. Whatever it is that you're asking people to give their time, it just seems to me that it's better to ask them to contribute than to volunteer. That's just a thought that I've been working on and encouraging people to change their wording and develop credibility. Without this, no one is going to follow you. And it's important that you and I develop that credibility in what we do and in how we do it. So, how can we grow the leaders that we need? Let me give you some examples of what we need to do to grow leaders. First of all, up with examples. You put models in front of their eyes. I had the privilege to serve as a college president for 10 years. I've been in leadership in Kiwanis. And here's the deal, my friends. If I wanted people to stay later, I needed to stay later than they. If I wanted people to come early, I needed to be there earlier. If I wanted people to open up a club, I needed to be the one opening a club. If I wanted them to invite people to join Kiwanis, I needed to be the one inviting people to join Kiwanis. And it is so important that you and I are examples. You put models in front of their eyes. People do what people see. And one of the challenges that we have at times, we have leaders that tell people what to do, but they don't model it, they don't do it, and they're not a good example. The second is up with enthusiasm. Put a fire in their hearts. Now, I am a pretty simple person. In fact, I'm a very simple person. The bottom line is I got up this morning and I'm breathing. That makes me excited. I had the opportunity to go outside today. There's no snow in Iowa where I'm coming from. And the temp today is supposed to be 60. That excites me. It's the little things in life that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about some superficial, cakey, syrupy kind of thing. When you and I go to our Kiwanis clubs and are with people that we would have never, ever met had it not been through Kiwanis, that ought to excite us. And when you want to put a fire in the hearts of people, you do that with enthusiasm, where you're celebrating the changes that your club has made, where you're celebrating the difference that you've made in the lives of people. And that enthusiasm absolutely makes people want to follow and get excited about what they can do. When you lead, excited to lead, people are excited to follow. There's no magic to this. You and I need to stay up with expectations, put dreams over their heads. I did a chamber event last night in a town here in Iowa. And one of the things that I tried to encourage the people at that annual meeting is if you aren't dreaming, you're not leading. The poorest people today are not people without money. They're people without dreams. The poorest businesses today are not businesses without clients. They're businesses without dreams. The poorest Kiwanis clubs today are not clubs without members or a meeting place or projects. They are a club without dreams. And a part of your job and my job as a leader is to put dreams over the heads of people. A person that comes to mind that really illustrates that is Martin Luther Jr. King. And what did he say? He didn't say, I have a plan. He stood in front of people and said, I have a dream. And when he said that, people responded. My encouragement to us as leaders is to absolutely be those people that have a dream. My club can be way bigger than what it is today. It will happen quicker if I have that as a dream and encourage other people to start dreaming with me. It's no magic. And it is so important that you and I, even though a plan is important, It's important that we have dreams. And if we do, I want to suggest to you that I believe people will respond. Number 4, up with experiences. Put wins under their belts. Our club just went through a major opportunity to strengthen our club. You strengthen your club by adding members to your club. And I did everything that I could to help that experience put a win under the belts of people, so that when they were asked to go out and invite more people to join our club, and when they were all going out to make a presentation about our club, that experience helped them win. And the question, when you want to know about how to win, is really simple. It's 3 words. What's important now? And if you will get people to ask the question, what's important now, you and I will do what needs to be done as a club and as a leader. And so the question that I want to ask every one of us that are on this Zoom meeting, what's important now? And the reason why I wanted you to have a handout, and hopefully you're following along, is because when you see it, hear it, read it, and write it, you get it better. I want you to take this material and I want you to share it with your club. I want you to take this material and use it so that you can do whatever you can do to help mentor leaders, help grow leaders, find leaders, and do what needs to be done. But the question every one of us need to ask in this organization is, what's important now? You will be a winner more than a loser if you will ask that question on a regular basis. You and I need to go up with mentoring. And I want to share the difference between mentoring and coaching, but we need to have both. It's so important, though, that you and I kind of understand what the difference is. Coaching is task-oriented. It is task-oriented, and we need coaches. Mentoring is relationship-oriented, where you and I are building the relationship. Coaching is short-term. It doesn't last for a long time. Mentoring is always long-term. And so when we're coaching, it's more of a short-term process, but when we're mentoring, it's always a long-term process. Coaching is performance-driven. It's performance-driven. Mentoring is development-driven. How am I going to develop? The first test of a leader is your ability to draw people to you. The final test of a leader is your ability to develop the people. And your job and my job as a leader is to draw people, but it's also to develop people. Mentoring is a development-driven. And you and I need to understand, coaching does not require design. Mentoring requires a design phase. And yet we need both. And so my encouragement to us is, let's be some people in the Pennsylvania district that not only coach, but mentor other people. And if you want to improve leadership, if you want to grow leadership, if you want to attract leadership, you need to be a coach and a mentor, because we need both. You and I need to go up with opportunity. It's so important that you and I are doing whatever we can to develop other leaders and develop people and attract them to understand that what they can do in your Kiwanis Club, what they can do in your division or district, is absolutely worth. We need to grow leaders. And if we're going to do that, that means we're going to need to improve leadership skills. It means that you and I need to engage people in the process. And so we need to inspire people to go up the ladder together. And if we do that, it's going to be amazing at what will happen. I want to just make a few observations. followers receive security in direct proportion to the quality of the leadership over them. That's why we fluctuate in Kiwanis many times, is because we'll have an effective leader and then we have a leader that's not so effective. And your members, my members, will receive security in direct proportion to the quality of leadership over them. Give great leaders very little and they'll succeed. Give poor leaders a lot and they'll fail. And it's important that you and I understand there is a distinct difference. We need more reactive, or less reactive, and more creative leaders. Instead of reacting to the situation, we need to be creative to the situation. And I put in your notes what's the difference. Reactive is tell-oriented, creative is listen-oriented. Reactive makes personal decisions, creative empowers people. Reactive is opinionated, creative is open-minded. Reactive is afraid of losing control. Creative is knowing relaxing controls yield results. Reactive, they analyze, and creative, they listen to intuition. And we need to be less reactive and more creative if we're going to attract leaders and be attractive as a service club. Number 4, our leaders never set themselves above people except in carrying responsibilities. The only difference between me when I was international president and the member was responsibilities. That was it. I was not more important. I was not more valuable. I was not more needed. I wasn't any of that. I just had some different responsibilities than the member had. Number 5, great leaders always have the ability to empower people and leave them with the credit. Your job and my job is to empower people and to give them the credit. It's lonely at the top, so you better know why you're there. And the reason why it's lonely at the top is because you didn't take anybody with you. My encouragement to us is to be a tour guide, not a travel agent. And it's important that you and I are taking people on the journey instead of sending them on the journey. The leadership is an opportunity to serve. From my perspective, that's the only reason for me to be a leader in Kiwanis. It's to serve. It's to serve people. And it's to help them reach their potential, but it comes from a servant leadership perspective. Number 8, great leaders ask great questions. Anyone who knows all the answers isn't asking the right questions. You and I need to ask great questions. The first test of your leadership is your ability to draw people to you. And I shared this just a little bit ago, is to draw people to you. The final test of your leadership is your ability to develop people around you. You'll never get ahead until your people get behind you. Understand that you and I need to have whatever we can do to get people to be with us on the mission and the vision and to support the direction we're going. Discern how much of the future can be introduced in the present. And it's so important that when you have a future goal, that you chunk it down, and what you present in the present are stepping stones to get there. Great organizations are built on courageous decisions. What courageous decision has your club made this year? What courageous decisions has your district made this year? You want to build a great organization? Make courageous decisions. Leaders must walk slowly among their people to know their problems and walk with smarter people in order to solve them. I don't have all the answers. I've never had all the answers. And it's important that I walk slowly amongst the members to hear what the issues are, but then to walk with smarter people in order to solve them. The speed of a leader determines the speed of a team. And you and I as leaders need to stay 2-3 steps ahead of the people, not 10, 2-3 steps ahead of the people so that we have good speed. The higher you go in leadership, the more the work is about the future. So I hope you and I as leaders are always thinking about 6 months from now or a year from now, but we're always thinking about the future and the direction that we're trying to take the people. Leadership is more about what you do than what you say. And I want to remind you that survival isn't interesting, but leadership is. Everything rises and falls on the leader. Leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. And you and I have the opportunity to be reminded that everything rises and falls on the leadership. So you and I have the opportunity to go up the leadership ladder. And because of that, we have a great opportunity in this district and great opportunity in what you and I are doing to make a difference in the lives of people, and to do that on behalf of Kiwanis. Now, I think I'm okay. Somebody needs to advise me. It's 11:03 at our 06 in Iowa. It's 12:06 in your time, correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Okay. So I have till quarter after?
Yeah, till 12:15, yeah.
Okay. So I will be happy to answer any questions if you have a question or comments. And I hope that what I've shared with you has been an encouragement as well as a motivation for us to go up the leadership ladder.
Thank you, Steve. If anyone has questions for Steve, we have a few minutes. Please raise your hand in Zoom, or you can place it in chat.
Turn my camera on. I just want to say that was terrific. I love that presentation. Also love Iowa. My daughter was out there for a year, and we got to visit 3 times in 1 year, and I loved it.
Good. And may you come back.
I would like to, yes. She's yep.
Good.
We have a question from Kathy Seimens.
Oh, no.
Hi, Steve.
Hi, Kathy.
If you were in any one of our positions and you were really struggling trying to find that person to start training them to be president of a Kiwanis club, what would be the best advice you could give us?
You build the relationship with that person. Everything from my perspective when it comes to effective leadership starts with building relationships. I would take that person to coffee. I would go to lunch with that person. I would spend some time with that person getting to know that individual. And you're going to find out quickly whether they're wanting to lead, are going to be able to lead, but you start with building a relationship. And then from there, it's what I call dripping. You start dripping what a responsibility looks like. You start dripping what the tasks would be for your club or for whatever you're trying to get that leader to be a part of. And you're going to find out from their responses whether that they are really ready to do that or not. But you begin with relationship. Good question. Well, if there isn't, that is fine. I hope what I've shared with you has been encouragement. Sarah, I'm just going to end with just a personal part. Oh, there's a question.
Oh, Sarah Murphy. Go ahead.
I was wondering, do you think it's best to have a small number of people take on responsibilities long term, or is it best to have many people that take on responsibility for short amounts of time?
Great question. It depends on your project or your club and the nature of your members. I think it's healthy for a club to have a turnover in leadership, but if it's too quick for your club, then I think it's healthy for that person to assume responsibility at a longer time frame. It just depends on the nature of your club. I will tell you that I have been the president of our Kiwanis Club for the last 3 years. And that's not healthy, okay? But I'm going to tell you why. Because we've been mentoring and developing potential leaders. And so at the end of that 3-year period, we had a president-elect, we had a vice president, and we had a treasurer and a secretary that we had mentored over that 3-year period, so that when I stepped aside, they just moved into that leadership position and are ready to lead, and they're rocking and they're rolling. So that it just depends on if you've got lots of leaders and good leaders, I would encourage you to encourage them to lead for the time that they will commit. If you don't, then I would encourage you to get somebody that will really run with the mission and stick with the mission, but you're doing it to develop leaders. You're not doing it because nobody else will do it.
Okay, thank you.
We have time for one more question, Steve, and it's in the chat from Susan Warner. It seems like younger people are reluctant to take on leadership roles. I see it in Kiwanis and in my work. How do you get someone to see their own leadership potential?
Again, from my perspective, you do whatever you can to build relationships. There is a reluctance for younger people to assume leadership responsibilities. And I'm going to make a presentation to our mid-year conference here in a couple weeks on just helping people to try to understand what we're dealing with. And just very quickly, the younger people today want tribes. They don't want community, and they want to be a part of a tribe. And I don't have time to develop that and share with you, but you and I got to think about a tribe, a group of people that are so close together. They're going to battle together. They're working together. They're playing together, but they're a tribe. The other thing is time is really important. They're not going to just give their time to something that is a tradition or something that is how do I say this? They're guarded with their time. And so you and I need to make their time more significant. And they'll give the time if there's significance there. And the third thing is they want to do things with a family. I'm going to encourage people to really do what they can to involve the whole family in the Kiwanis experience. So when you have a service club, start thinking family. Start thinking spouses and kids instead of just members. The bottom line is, I don't know. It's a great question. It's a question we all are struggling with in the workplace as well as in Kiwanis. I'm still going to go back to the relationship. Develop a relationship with them so you ask them the question. What would it take, or what do you want to do that's going to be meaningful, significant, and helpful? A bad answer to a great question, but it's something we struggle with, and I've been struggling with it for probably a couple years on what do we need to do to make it happen. So hopefully I've given you something to think about. All right, I've got 1 minute or less.
Yep.
Personal question, personal request. Monday morning at 5:30 a.m. I am going to the hospital. At 7:30 a.m. I'm having open heart surgery. And so if you pray, will you just say a little prayer for me? I don't have a blockage anywhere. My carotid arteries are fine. I just have a valve that has worn out. And so I'm going to have open heart surgery this coming Monday to replace a valve. They're going to give me a pig valve. So the next time you see me, if I'm rooting or oinking, will you please stop me? But it's pretty amazing. Open heart surgery is kind of a everyday occurrence in hospitals anymore. It's not like it used to be, but I would appreciate your thoughts and your prayers. And thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this.
Thank you, Steve, and prayers to you.
Thank you.
Well, you're getting a lot of prayers in the chat. We're all sending them to you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Steve, for your message today. I experienced open heart surgery last May myself. I had 3 blockages. I didn't have a valve done, but I did have 3 blockages. So best of luck to you, and we'll all be praying for you.
Thank you so much.